I'm in the northwest of Bali this week. I drove like 3 hours north because I just needed a break. I have been going through some transitions that I just haven't been able to feel settled in and find clarity on. And so I just needed to come to a quiet, beautiful place where the nature is so loud that it's hard to hear me over the birds and the water and the trees. And I've just been sitting in the nature, just trying to make sense of everything in my brain. But I finally feel like I'm getting somewhere. And I am someone who has always struggled with change. I've always been an anxious person. I get overwhelmed really easily. I like to overplan, and then my lists are overwhelming. I have visions for the future that are so big that they just feel like too much, but I also feel overwhelmed with what's going on in the present. And I've made so much progress in all of this, but sometimes life just gets busy or fast or a big thing changes and I need to recalibrate, I need to resettle, and it can be really hard. So I came to the northwest of Bali. It's absolutely gorgeous. It's a little bit loud sometimes, but the nature is incredible. And I've been staying in this place that is just so cozy and comfy. And it's made me think so much about how to navigate change, how to navigate transition, how to feel comfortable with the rate of growth that you're experiencing and trusting that you're on a path, that you're on the right path, that you can trust yourself to make decisions. And I think the thing that's been the hardest is that over the last 2 years, since I moved to Bali, have been working for myself online, self-employed, loving my life, post-eating disorder recovery, like just really having a beautiful time, is that it's also incredibly lonely. Like, I have amazing friends. I don't feel alone in my personal life, but everything happening in here, all of the change, all of the deprogramming I've gone through after leaving the US 2 years ago, getting out of hustle culture, getting out of diet culture, it is an experience that is so uniquely my own. And that can feel lonely sometimes. And I think that's the thing that people don't talk about when they talk about growth, which is that it isn't all sunshine and rainbows. And there isn't really this point where you feel like you've completed it. I think that one of the reasons change is so hard for me is because it's the only constant in our lives. Like, everything that I have right now, everything I'm feeling right now is temporary. And I'm always going to be growing. I'm always going to be changing. Transformation and change and growth are kind of all the same, but they're all impermanent. And it really makes you think about how to be present. And I get really frustrated when I don't feel present. And then I feel very lonely because I try to communicate how I'm feeling and the discomfort I'm sitting in every day. But at the same time, the discomfort is an essential part of the process, and that can feel hard to sit with sometimes. Do you ever feel like you just don't fit in your own life anymore? Like, when I think about my life 2 years ago versus now, sitting on a rooftop in Bali with a flower in my hair, wearing this beautiful little dress with a bikini underneath, myself from 2 or 3 or 5 years ago wouldn't even recognize me. And I'm so happy about that because I appreciate that version of her, but it's not where I was happy working a 9 to 5 and bartending on the weekends and saving money and just always being so stressed about how much money I had in my bank account and just like not having friends that lit me up inside, being in a relationship I wasn't very happy in, just didn't feel very fulfilled. I don't regret that part of my life because it brought me here, but it is so disorienting sometimes to think about that and think about now and how different everything is and just believe that that's the same person. And the discomfort is that essential part of it. And although it can feel lonely, I think there's a lot of ways that I'm finding to sit in it that actually feel safe and feel peaceful. And I think the key that I just said is that it's the sitting in it. It's normalizing that growth is amazing and you'll be so proud of yourself when you look back and it feels so good. And it can be really disorienting. It can be really hard to see your own progress. It can be really confusing because you know that something needs to change, but you maybe don't know exactly what the path is. And if you're new to my channel or new to me, I'm a life coach. I tell people, I get paid to give my advice. Like I tell people my 2 cents on how I think that they should make massive changes in their life. And I get paid to give amazing advice and change people's life. Like it's incredible to be that guide. And we're all going through it in our own way. But as a former perfectionist and people pleaser and overthinker and anxious girly, like if I'm checking all your boxes, you're in the right place too, because that is what so much of my inner work has been releasing myself from. You're just like my clients as well, who come to me and they want to know that they're on the right path, that they're on the right track, and that they can measure their progress. I have one client who's also named Sarah, and we're working together right now, and I shared this with her that there isn't always going to be a perfect list of your wins or your accomplishments, or that personal growth basically isn't a course you're taking that you can get a good grade in, and therefore assignments you need to complete in order to get the grade. It is just not that straightforward a lot of times, and everyone's experience is so different. I remember that I actually started to notice some of my growth in the past when I wasn't laughing at the same jokes anymore, when the things that I used to do in my free time maybe weren't what I wanted to be doing anymore. Like they weren't fun. Like for example, I used to bond with people over dieting and calorie counting and feeling guilty about not going to the gym. Like it was the easiest thing to make a new friend at the gym in the locker room, because you could just be like, oh my God, I ate so much yesterday. I got to work this off. Or like, oh my God, I'm so hungover from all of those skinny margaritas. Like I really got to go burn some calories, whatever. I obviously said it nicer than that, but like, that was something that I used to just so easily connect with people on. And as I healed my relationship with my body and I stopped obsessing over how much I weigh and forcing myself to go to the gym when I was sick or hungover and I didn't feel good, when I started exercising because I actually love it and not because it was a punishment to my body, I stopped having those conversations. I stopped wanting to have those conversations, and I felt so much better inside. But again, I felt that loneliness because I couldn't connect with the same people in the same way anymore. And so I had to find new people to have in my life that were more aligned with this current version of myself. And I think that's where some of the loneliness and the discomfort comes from as well. But what I told my client, also named Sarah, is that we can take on a perspective that's kind of what I call like past, present, future with all of my clients, where we positively reflect on the past and where you've come from and the accomplishments and the growth you've had. We focus on how to be present and appreciate the present and take steps in the present so that you know you're moving forward. And then we have some really exciting visualizations and goals and visions for the future that don't feel overwhelming, that don't feel like a deadline that you need to meet. Because personal growth, again, is not something you're going to get an A+ in. Nobody's going to pat you on the back and be like, good job, you did it. I mean, they might see the growth in you, but even if they do that, it doesn't really like make it click. What really makes it click is when you can see your own progress, when you can see your own growth, and you can appreciate in the present moment, look at all I've done for myself, and I'm so excited for where I'm going because I trust myself to get there. So I want to challenge your assumption that you might be carrying subconsciously or consciously, if you're like me, that growth is about getting better. We romanticize the hell out of it when in reality, it can feel lonely, it can feel confusing, it can feel disorienting, it can feel frustrating, and that doesn't mean that you're doing it wrong. Growth isn't about being better or being the best. It's about feeling happier and feeling more aligned to your true self. For me, that means like being friends with people who I feel like I can unapologetically be myself with. Like I just made an Instagram reel about my best friend Ellie. And one of the reasons I love her the most is because she's so smart, she's so funny. I feel like I can be my funny, silly kid self with her, and I can also ask her so many questions that she knows the answers to, and I never feel embarrassed to be weird, to be silly, to be loud, and to not know the answers to something. That's what being closer to my truest self means, and I never would have envisioned in the past that friendship is part of what my personal growth looks like. My own personal growth also looks like just being more present in my daily life and comfortable in my body. And I used to think that that meant having a perfect fitness routine and nutrition routine and self-care practices and always getting my steps and always being hydrated. And then I did all of those things perfectly. I hit the goal weight. I had my Fitbit like step goal met every day. I closed all my rings on the Apple Watch every day. I was super hydrated. I was taking all my vitamins, all of this shit. And I just didn't have that moment of feeling confident and happy with myself like I thought I would. It really came when I was able to understand that food and fitness and self-care and friendship and relationships, they should all make me happier. They should all make me more present. They should all make me more content and joyful and making memories. They shouldn't make me this perfect version of myself, because I'm not a work in progress. I'm not a checklist. I am a human being who wants to live and be happy. So what if the version of you that's struggling right now, struggling to see your progress, struggling to get where you want to get, is actually a version of you that you can be kinder to, and you can release some of the expectations on. You can release some of the mindsets and the beliefs you have about who you are. Maybe you're not too much. Maybe you're not someone who's lazy or not working hard enough. Maybe you're actually good enough exactly as you are right now. And maybe your past self was too, because she or he or they got you to where exactly you are right now. If it wasn't for your past self, the version of yourself that you're trying so hard to run away from, you wouldn't be exactly where you are right now. And that's amazing. That's a beautiful thing. You should be so proud of yourself. It's really normal to doubt yourself in periods of transition. It's really normal to have so much of your life change. Maybe it's how you eat, how you move, where you work, what you want to do with your life. And it's honestly probably the people that you're in relationships with, the people that you're in friendships with, how you relate to your family members. When I was a younger version of myself, the version that I tried to run away from for so long, I stayed in a relationship for almost 2 years that I knew wasn't right for me, that I knew I wasn't happy in, because I was so afraid to step into the next version of myself and acknowledge that I wanted to be happier, not just better. When I finally ended that relationship, and then 3 months later I moved to Bali, shocker, I felt free and I felt proud of myself, and I felt like I could actually trust myself to listen to what I knew was right for me. I've also had a lot of friendships end in these last few years. Some of them were friendship breakups, which like needed to happen. And although I would do it a little bit less messy this time around, I'm glad that they're done, both for me and for them. Didn't need them anymore. But some of them were also just friendships that faded, and we were maybe more distant now, and I still have so much love for those people, but again, we just don't relate like we used to. I don't even live in the same country as where I grew up, and maintaining digital connections can be hard. It has to take a lot of effort or a lot of patience, or both, on both sides, and not all of my friendships have survived that transition. I also just, again, don't relate to those people in the same way anymore, and I really, really appreciate the role that they played in my past life, but it's not the life that I'm carrying now. And so one of the hardest parts about growth and about change, being at peace with change, is finding that self-trust, that even if relationships end, even if you change careers, even if your body changes in any sort of way, maybe you have a baby, maybe you lose weight, maybe you gain weight, maybe your wardrobe changes, I don't know, there's so many things that we can experience, right? That you're gonna be okay, and that you can trust yourself, and that even if you have to sit in discomfort, that discomfort is only discomfort until it becomes comfortable. And that you can trust yourself to move forward, because you've already moved forward so many steps, so many times in the past. And you can trust yourself to be happy with what you have right now, even if you might have more or you might have something different in the future. Sitting in discomfort is an essential part of growth. There will always be discomfort in our lives. That is just the human experience. And having the self-trust to believe that you can navigate through that is life-changing. It brings you peace. It makes you present in your moment. It makes you stop living in survival mode, in scarcity, in anxiety, in anxious attachments, in codependency. It is so liberating to trust yourself, to be with yourself. Clarity does not come from standing still, waiting for the perfect path to emerge, to show itself to you. Clarity comes from taking the next step anyways, even if you can't see the whole staircase. The version of you who is on the other side, she is just waiting for you. All you have to do is keep taking steps towards her. I can't tell you how many people have messaged me and said, I feel so lost. Something about my life has changed. Maybe I've gained weight, I've lost weight, I've changed jobs, or just know I don't want to be in this relationship anymore. They say, I feel so lost and I don't know what to do. And what I so often want to tell them, if I could respond to every message, and what I have to tell myself all of the time, is what if this isn't you being lost? What if this is actually being on the path to your truest self, on that path more than you have ever been in your entire life? Discomfort, feeling lost, is actually such an invitation to listen to what you actually want and who you actually want to be. What feels like an ending is often an invitation into a next chapter, into a new door. A doorway to a life that actually fits you, like I have here. And this life will change for me. It already is. I'm so excited for it. And it will look completely different, whether it's inside here or out here, in a couple months, in a couple years. And I'm so excited for that. I'm so ready for that. But I'm also so happy to be exactly where I am right now, because I trust myself and I trust my body to take care of me, and I trust my mind to make good decisions, and I trust myself to allow the people and the opportunities and the work into my life that aligns with my truest self. But I do not know what that is. I don't know the whole story, and I never will. I just have to trust myself that I'll figure it out. What is something that you have outgrown lately? I would love to hear what it is in the comments, and know that even if it's unique to you, it is probably something that I can resonate with because of so many of the emotions that come with this journey. I want to hear what that's looked like for you, what it's looking like in real time, even if, or especially if, you don't know exactly what's going to come from it. Perspective is amazing. Hindsight is 20/20, but also having peace with the fact that you don't have it all figured out in the present moment is an incredible life skill to have. You do not need to know what the whole path looks like going forward. You do not need to have it all perfectly planned out. You just need to trust that you will move forward. Periods of transition are normal in life. You don't have to feel guilty about it, even if your relationships or your lifestyle or your desires are changing. Just trust yourself. It's going to be great. And I love you. I'll talk to you next time.